In this video, what we're going to do is take a quick look at Mixamo. Now, Mixamo can be a great way to take an existing character you either modeled or perhaps you purchased online and upload it to the Mixamo website and apply a bunch of different animations that are available to you. You can then download the character with the animation and use it in your project as you see fit. It's a pretty straightforward and easy process, though there are a few things you want to keep in mind. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let's get started here. Now, you could be doing this with a character you modeled yourself, a character you bought online. I'm going to just grab a character from the asset browsers. By typing in character, I'll find this guy called Sporty. I believe it's Toon Rig, and I'll drag him in here. And you know what I'm going to end up doing is just kind of stripping out all of the rigging here, even though this guy is already rigged. Though I will say, if you did have a pre-rigged character and you wanted to apply a Mixamo animation, there is a way you can create a Mixamo control rig by going to character, changing the template to say Mixamo control rig, and kind of going through that path. So that is definitely beyond the scope of this video. What I'm going to do in this case, though, is get rid of all the rigging like I mentioned, and I'm going to make sure to turn down the subdivision surface levels here, so that way I end up with an unsmoothed character when I export it. And so once I've done that, all I'm going to do is just right click on my null here that has everything inside and do a connect objects plus delete. That will get rid of all the rigging, although it actually does put all the rigging as a separate spline here that I can now get rid of. The eyes ended up looking a little bit strange, which actually didn't happen when I did this previously, but really shouldn't matter. For our purposes today, I'll get rid of all the other nulls. And now what I can do is get ready to save this out. I do want to just double check to make sure there's nothing kind of weird going on, like I have this plane down here for whatever reason. And so that's definitely something I'm going to want to get rid of. So everything's looking pretty good. And now what we can do is export our character. Go to File, Export. Technically, Mixamo can take FBX and OBJs. I've had better luck with OBJs, which is a bit disappointing because Mixamo kicks back FBXs and it does make reapplying your materials a little bit trickier. So I wonder if perhaps diving in here and experimenting with the exact version of FBX could help fix that. But I'm going to stick with OBJs because for me, they've worked right away. So I'm just going to go to export here, replace the one I've already saved, and then go to the Mixamo website. Now, I'm already logged in, so that's why this looks a bit different. I believe the options are something like sign up for free or log in. Now, there are characters as well as animations. The characters you can find here. Can switch to any of these characters and apply whatever the last animation you used or whatever the default animation is. And depending on what that animation is, you might see some properties to customize it. But yeah, there's a handful of different characters here. By no means is this, cover everything you might want for a character, but there's definitely some options here if you want to experiment. The big thing though is the animation library. And you can either start that process by switching to animations or by uploading your own character. So that's what I'll actually do. And now it's asking for me to upload the character. So I will go ahead and do that. Like I said, I've had better luck with OBJs. The first couple of times I tried FBXs, nothing would show up after this process here. So we'll let this process, and as it finishes, we will pick this up. Now I can tell this loaded in correctly because I can actually see my character here. When I've tried FBXs a couple of times, nothing showed up here. And this looks pretty good. However, if you do need to make some changes, you can see you are able to do that if you need to rotate your character on different axes. But it is facing straight forward. You also want your character to be in a T-pose. And have the fingers spread apart, though it is a bit tricky to see that from this particular view. That is something that you would want to pay attention to in Cinema 4D or whatever application you're coming from. All right, now what we are going to do is auto-rig this character. You can disable symmetry. You can also decide what skeleton you want to use, if you want to have fingers or not, whatever the case may be, whatever kind of matches or is the closest to the character you have here. Now, I almost wish it would show a view with the lines or edges on our object, is that would make it easier to find the exact location of our elbow and perhaps knee, maybe even the groin area. But we'll do the best we can. And we do get a little bit of a magnifier here as we are doing this. So I'll just go through and kind of choose as best I can where these different elements are. We have the wrist, we have the elbows, which I'm just going to guess is somewhere around there, hopefully towards the middle. We have knees. Once again, if I could see the lines or edges on this, I could do this a little bit better. And then lastly, groin. Okay. From there, we hit next, and it's going to go through and auto rig for us. And so once again, we will come back once this process is complete. And once it has finished, you do get a chance to kind of review this. If you do want to go back and adjust things like the knee position, elbow, whatever, now is the time to do so. You can hit back and you can enable the skeleton view. I am taking a look at this and going, all right, maybe, the hand here is a little bit messed up. I will say that, from what I've seen using this character previously, that this isn't necessarily the best judge of that, but we'll see that once we take a look at some of the animation. So I'm happy with this. I'm going to go ahead and hit next, and then I can proceed with this character, and then switch to animations to see what we have there. Now, with these animations, you'll have different properties to really fine tune them. Overdrive tends to kind of speed things up a little bit. Okay, arm space. Take a look at that one, maybe where it's using the arms a little bit more. Perhaps I can find one. There you go. I'm not sure zombie biting is the correct one. But as you'll see, there are lots of different options here. So they do have a search field, which can help. Come here and check the thumbnail size, how many you want to see, all pretty basic options. But notice here what happens is I adjust the arm space, right? It does kind of make a difference to the way our animation looks. And honestly, it seems like it's bending the arms a little bit more, kind of making it closer to the body or further away from the body, right? So that's, looking pretty good. And looking at the hands, this is something you're probably going to run into problems with just because it is auto-rigged. We didn't get a chance to really place the fingers. The good news is you can always make some adjustments to the animation in Cinema 4D once we get this animation out of it. All right, so yeah, this is looking pretty good. You can trim the length of this animation, and once you're happy with it, well, then you download it. And a few different options here, FBX, right? For the most part, it does have Collada as well, although it does have some different options for FBX, with or without skin, frames per second, and if you want keyframe reduction. I'm going to keep that off because Cinema 4D has its own keyframe reduction, and I can either go through and do that there if I would like. That way I'm left with all of the animation. So I'll just click download and kind of go through this process of getting it back into Cinema 4D. It's already downloaded, so we can come back into Cinema 4D here, find it, and drag it up and import it into our file here. So you could just choose file import. I just dragged it from Windows Explorer onto Cinema 4D, and it's going to import it for me into its own file. And there we go. So there's our animation. Okay. And like I said, if you wanted to go in and make adjustments, you absolutely could, open up your timeline, right? Find your rig, find the joint you are looking for. In this case, we'd probably want, hand or fingers, and then go in and see if we can make an adjustment to it, whether it's the wrist to straighten it out. And you can see it isn't quite perfect, right? But if you need some animation quickly, this is a really, really good option. Now, when it comes to the materials, right, that we had on our original geometry, this is where I wish I had gotten a chance to get FBX to work, because what I thought would work is if, you copied character in here and then copied over all of the relevant information, the material tags and selections, that it would just work. Unfortunately, that wasn't quite the case, but we'll do it again just to double check here. So on the animated version, I'm going to delete the Phong tag as well as the UVW tag. I'll copy over all of our materials, okay, and then move over our selection tags. Now, really, all I needed to do was take a look at our UVWs to see if they were the same. And perhaps leaving the UVW tag would have helped, but you can see, yeah, this isn't quite working. So why don't we really quickly see if keeping the UVW, the original UVW there, and maybe even the fog tag will help with this. I don't believe it will, right? But that's why it could be even more important. Note to try and get that FBX format to work, right? And when you export something is a different file format, it can change the name and order of the polygons. So we can see that if we switch to UV edit, it looks like it kept some things, but not necessarily all of it. So let's see. No, actually it did. That's a bit interesting. So it must be due to something in our selection tags here, perhaps the order, but that is a good sign that the UVW coordinates did transfer over, even if they're not quite showing correctly. That at least gives me hope that it is possible to reapply the materials in a pretty easy manner. But that's essentially it for just getting a animation, a character into Mixamo, getting a rigged animation out. And as this character was in a subdivision surface, we can always apply that again. And now here's what our animation character looks like, all smoothed out like we have. So with that will do it for this one. If there's anything else you would like to see, please leave me a comment down below. And if you found this video helpful, I'd appreciate it if you could like it and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, take care.